I'm KW Keene. Let's take a road trip. We're going to need some great music. Road Trip Songs Part 2 coming up on Rock Music History Lesson. Okay, you're taking a road trip and you need some great music. Road Trip Songs Part 2. Evil Woman. Electric Light Orchestra. Electric Light Orchestra, commonly known as ELO, was a top-rated band of the 1970s. Jeff Lynne, the lead singer of ELO, says he wrote Evil Woman in about 30 minutes. The line in the song, "There's a hole in my head where the rain comes in," is a tribute to the Beatles song, "Fixing a Hole." John Lennon was a fan, and he called ELO Sons of the Beatles. Jumpin' Jack Flash, the Rolling Stones. Jumpin' Jack Flash is the most performed song by the Rolling Stones, and the band has played it at every concert since its release in 1968. In an interview with Rolling Stone magazine, Keith Richards says he is very proud of his guitar part in this song. Aretha Franklin recorded a version in 1986, and Keith Richards produced and played guitar. Brandy, You're a Fine Girl, Looking Glass. Just like all the other road trip songs, this is one you would love to be the songwriter because it's being played somewhere in the world right now. Lead singer Elliot Lurie says Brandy was inspired by a high school girlfriend named Randy. Yes, with an R. As he was writing the song, the first thing that came to mind was Randy. But Randy was an unusual and unisex name, so he changed it to Brandy. Find out the story behind the song in an earlier video. Brandy, You're a Fine Girl went all the way to #1 on the charts in 1972. Hold My Hand, Hootie and the Blowfish. Hold My Hand dates back to 1990 when a small label signed them and nothing happened. The song was released a few years later and got the attention of Atlantic Records. Legendary singer-songwriter David Crosby provided background vocals. The band recorded an album, Cracked Rear View. Hold My Hand was released and reached #10 on the charts in 1994. The album became the best-selling in Atlantic's history and best-selling album of 1995. Get Back, The Beatles. Get Back began as a sarcastic and critical look at attitudes toward immigrants. Early demo versions of Get Back contained the line, "Meanwhile, back at home, too many Pakistanis living in a council flat. Candidate Macmillan, tell us what your plan is. Won't you tell us where you're at?" Paul McCartney said the song being satirical didn't prevent racism accusations toward him for years to come. In a Rolling Stone magazine interview, McCartney said, "If there was any group that was not racist, it was the Beatles." Of course, McCartney rewrote the lyrics. The Beatles performed Get Back on the rooftop of Apple Records on January 30th, 1969. They kept the act a secret, knowing it would get shut down quickly. The police eventually pulled the plug, but the performance serves as the climax in the film documentary Let It Be. The rooftop would be the Beatles' last live performance. A footnote: the Beatles Get Back documentary series, produced by Peter Jackson, famous for Lord of the Rings, was released in November 2021. It documents the Beatles' making of the album Let It Be, which had the title of Get Back. Layla, Derek and the Dominoes. Layla was about George Harrison's wife, Patty. Eric Clapton wrote Layla while Patty was still married to George. The song is about a man in love with a woman who loves him but is unavailable. The name Layla is inspired by a 12th century Persian poem about desperate, unreciprocated love, the story of Layla. After working on George Harrison's All Things Must Pass, Clapton formed Derek and the Dominos with Bobby Whitlock, Carl Radle, and Jim Gordon. Duane Allman, already a mutual friend of Clapton's, joined the band as a guest. Allman created the famous guitar riff and played lead with Clapton. Record companies in those days would make stupid bonehead moves, like editing Layla to 2 minutes and 43 seconds, and it flopped. The full version, which is 7 minutes 10 seconds, was released a year later and became one of the most famous songs in rock history. The album was Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs. The Harrisons later divorced, and Eric and Patty were married from 1979 to 1989. Going Up the Country, Canned Heat. Canned Heat is an American blues and rock band famous in the late 60s and early 70s, known as the hippie era. Like, wow, man. Going Up the Country was a remake of a song from 1927 by Henry Thomas called Bulldoze Blues. Vocalist Blind Al Wilson used the melody and rewrote the lyrics. Canned Heat performed Going Up the Country at Woodstock. Their scene was cut from the documentary, but included in the director's cut. Going Up the Country is also available on the triple album Woodstock. Going Up the Country climbed to number 11 in 1969. Jessica, the Allman Brothers Band. Jessica is an instrumental with little chart success, but has become a staple of classic rock radio and a favorite among fans. The band's guitarist, Dickie Betts, wrote it as a tribute to gypsy jazz guitarist Django Reinhardt, so you could play with 2 fingers on the left hand. Betts' infant daughter inspired Jessica as she crawled in the room and started bouncing with the rhythm when he wrote the song. After the tragic death of the band's leader Duane Allman in 1971, they added keyboardist Chuck Leavell. After hearing him play on Jessica, you know why Leavell is one of the most sought-after musicians. Jessica was released in December 1973. Roy Orbison, Oh Pretty Woman. Roy Orbison wrote Oh Pretty Woman with his songwriting partner, Bill Dees. The story is, Orbison tells Dees to get started writing about anything that came to mind. Claudette, Orbison's wife, walks into the room and says she's going shopping. Orbison asks, "Do you need any money?" Dees responds with, "Pretty woman never needs any money." This inspired Orbison to coin the phrase, "Pretty woman walking down the street." The song reached number 1 on the charts in 1965 and is number 222 on Rolling Stones magazine's Top 500 Songs of All Time. In 1990, the movie Pretty Woman, starring Richard Gere and Julia Roberts, created a new audience for Roy Orbison. The Boys Are Back in Town, Thin Lizzy. The Boys Are Back in Town is one of those songs you know it as soon as you hear that guitar. Then you want to start a fight. No, not really. Phil Lynott, the lead singer, was inspired to write the song from his own experiences as a child hanging around a bar his mother Philomena owned in Ireland. Some of her regular customers were from the Quality Street Gang, which was a criminal enterprise. The line, "Friday night they'll be dressed to kill," refers to the gang's fashion sense. Thin Lizzy was known as a party band, sometimes ending up in fights. The Boys Are Back in Town reached number 12 on the charts in 1976. Sadly, the alcohol and drug abuse took a toll on Phil Lynnott's body. He died in 1986 at the age of 36. Make sure you like us, comment, and subscribe. Check out our website, rockmusichistorylesson.com. Thank you for watching Rock Music History Lesson. I'm KW King.